Good evening, and thank you for joining me, Dr. Marcia Morgan, at this evening's virtual event, The History of Intersectionality, The Hidden Black Faces. Enjoy this evening. Feel free to interact and engage as much as you like, ask questions, talk to each other. It is a celebration of the intersectionality of Black women and the contributions that we have made from generations. I'll be starting through giving you a bit of a background of intersectionality. That's the part of me, the educational side, that likes to give information. We have some great guests this evening, like Dr. Angela Herbert and Kaya Allen Bevan. They will be sharing their poems. Reverend Anita Jackson, author of The Power of Faith, will give us a preview of her new book. Bianca Williams will give us some financial tips, and Mahalia Dua will perform a song. These are 5 extra special guests sharing their talents with us this evening. And I'm really excited that you have chosen to be here with us celebrating intersectionality this evening. If I tell you a quick little bit about myself, I'm a poet and I'm an author of 2 books, Black Women Prison Employees, The Intersectionality of Gender and Race, and The Silenced Voice, There is Purpose in Pain, Business Book Awards 2021 finalist. I'm so glad that you're here today, and I'd like to share one of my poems with you before I start my presentation. This poem is entitled, There's Something in You That's in Me. There is something about listening to my Black sister I cannot find the words to explain. Empowering, encouraging, enlightening, these words don't quite capture the feelings or what I want to say. There's something about seeing my Black sister standing in front of me, speaking to everyone in the room, leading me somewhere, but I'm not quite sure where. There's something about my Black sister who stands and speaks to me. She's not white, she's not male, but she looks just like me. There's something about my Black sister, her presence gives me strength. She reminds me that our trials and tribulations are not unique. We share them as a group. Our shared gender and race create a bond between the 2 of us. But first, what is intersectionality? It's a word that's most commonly used in relation to feminism and can be hard to define, but easy to abuse. Nevertheless, it's an essential tool for analysing and changing patterns of inequality and injustice. Intersectionality is an analytical way of thinking used to understand how socially and culturally constructed categories of discrimination and identity production interact on multiple levels to create systematic social inequality. People experience oppression in overlapping ways, not as separate or distinct entities that can be examined or experienced individually. The variables of race and gender and other social categories such as age, class, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, etc., are interweaving influences which can be used to grasp the complexity of women's lived experience in any time or place. I use the analogy of an orchid to describe our intersectional identities. Now, the petals make up our identity. Every flower has petals around it, but the core is what makes that flower unique. It gives it its strength, it gives it its identity, it gives it its values. But when we relate ourselves as individuals to a flower, we are made up of the petals, and the inner core is who we are. That's what makes us unique from any other individual, even if someone is a twin. I would now like to share a poem with you called My Identity in Rhyme. Black is the colour of my skin, filled with plenty of melanin. A woman just like you, you and you. I'm married and a mother of 2, my biological son and to my gift from my boo. Caribbean descent. Does that make me a migrant? With the current climate, who can tell? I am more than a statistic that can be counted twice. Yes, I am Black and I am a woman, but deep inside, I am a spiritual human being with feelings and pain and insecurities that come from my gendered racialization. I am an employee of HMPPS, a practitioner researcher, a doctor of philosophy, and an author and poet as well. I don't drink coffee or tea, but love cross-country running and cake. I listen to R&B and reggae and read romantic novels. I have a passion for volunteering and a hard work ethic. I like to make the extra effort, even if it is ignored and overlooked. Because the woman speaking in front of you is more than how she looks. Thank you. Now, we've all heard the debates about whitewashing the history and denying her story. And having completed my own PhD, I embarked on a journey of raising awareness about the benefits of applying an intersectional approach to understanding the disparities that exist in the workplace and how the exclusion of intersectionality obscures diversity data. Now, from my personal perspective, I have campaigned to have a voice and be accepted for who I am, a Black woman who is more than gender racial stereotypes ascribed to Black women of African Caribbean descent by white patriarchal system. Now, like I said, intersectionality is not new. Even if the term only made it into the Oxford English Dictionary in 2015, there are those who believe that the term as a theoretical and activist tool began when Professor Kimberly Crenshaw coined the term in her 1991 Stanford Law Review article, Mapping the Margins, Intersectionality, Identity, Politics, and Violence Against Women of Color. Well, actually, Crenshaw expanded intersectionality into the academic discourse by combining the literature on critical race theory to examine anti-racist and feminist discourse on women of color as victims of sexual violence, arguing that racism and sexism act as mutually interlocking systems of oppression, resulting in a form of disadvantage that affects Black women, not just in employment, but in all areas of their lives. But intersectionality didn't start there. We can go as far back as the early 1900s when Sojourner Truth, an abolitionist and former slave, gave one of history's most memorable speeches on the intersection between women's suffrage and Black rights. Speaking to the Ohio Women's Convention, Truth used her identity to point out the ways in which women's suffrage and Black rights movement were failing Black women. Her famous words were, "Ain't I a woman?" Now, Ain't I a Woman continues to resonate with me, and I'm sure it probably resonates with you also. Having worked in several prisons and having been told that I don't display the characteristics that are ascribed to a woman in regards to being emotional, being fragile, etc., I kept asking myself the question, ain't I a woman in this space? And that mantra kept me going at times when I felt as though I was invisible and the only person. But then I came across the Combahee Rivers Collective. They are a group of, they came up with a statement which looked at, that encompassed the issues of intersectionality without actually using the term, but brought in other issues into their campaign. I would now like to introduce my first guest, Kaya Allen Bevan. Her pronouns are she, her, and hers, and she's a mixed race, queer racial justice, anti-racism advocate, poet, artist, and youth worker. Before she left secondary school, she always questioned the structures of which uphold and present the framework for society, evaluating the effectiveness of institutions and wanting to breach robust discourse for much needed intersectional change. By adopting a burning passion for equality, for encouraging empowerment through differences, and through online activism and educational content creation, this calling has only grown with age to equity and beyond, intertwining with her creative work and her daily practices. A common theme within her work is almost a rally cry, encapsulating her multifaceted views about various social issues, calling her audiences to do more beyond its viewing. Kaya strongly believes that it's imperative to capture excellence, too, with the slogan, "Art is activism." Kaya, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. I will be performing one of my poems today called Sacred Shadow. My poem is specifically for Black women because As you have explored, Marcia, that actually we are often shadowed in society, as you have shown, through movements, and it's actually about refocusing our own sense of beauty away from Eurocentric beauty standards, something that is not shown within the media. So my poem is called Sacred Shadow, and I'll be performing this today.
Thank you.
Black girl, you are a sponge that soaks up attention in all spaces, leaving people in a whirl with hair that defines gravity and skin that sings songs of painful longevity. Black girl, you change faces like the moon embodied in your hips and lips that are pumped up naturally with anger and bliss. Paired with a deep voice that simulates waves, leading all races to a cave of mystery. Black girl, you are a concoction of spices and sweetness that is always cooked to perfection, a special recipe passed down through generations of history and discourse. Leaving a trail of sauce, they will black power, a fist raised so high that only God could fist pump you back in solidarity, black girl. You are literally the tree of life, the first man and woman in Genesis, so don't you ever let sinful words slither and deceive you, for whom is entitled to spit on scripture. Holy words casted in a spell called black girl magic, something all folk pay and beg for to their fairy godmothers but never receive organically, black girl. You are the walking earth, with hair as round as its circumference and skin that encapsulates the universe. No wonder you glisten so brightly, for diamonds are only made under pressure and you are crushed by the oppressor. But when you braid your hair, it carves you a path back to our roots, sunk so deep down in Mother Africa, black girl. We may never meet, but I hope you know you have a family by blood and through melanin, a collection of black souls present and gone, knighting you in gold, but proud nonetheless. No matter what society reflects, look in the mirror and digest. Does the vision of yourself reject the power of colonialists and supremacists? Because black girl, you are a queen, and made so stunningly. Black girl past, black girl present, and black girl forever. You are a sacred shadow, one that exists through light and flows through darkness. Black girl.
That was brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I guess if you want to find out more of my content, you can find me online. I predominantly use Instagram. It's kaya.ab, KAIA.ab.
Stick it in the chat so people can cut and paste. Thank you, Kaya. That was brilliant. So my next guest is a very special lady, one of my mentors, Dr. Angela Herbert Mba. Her public sector career began over 36 years ago as a volunteer for 13 years in a young offenders institution, and then working at a London prison before moving to prison service policy in the Ministry of Justice. Dr. Herbert maintains an interest in criminal justice because people of African heritage are consistently and disproportionately represented. Dr. Herbert is a volunteer community ambassador supporting people of African heritage and other ethnic groups. She chairs the Violent Crime Prevention Board and a London Police Independent Advisory Group. She's a director of IOTC Solutions and founder director of Made on Purpose. All organizations are committed to social change, upliftment, and giving. Dr. Herbert is passionate about ensuring that organizations do more than pay lip service to meeting the needs of people from the global majority and consider possible practical solutions. Using her motivational public speaking prowess, inspirational and aspirational writings, Dr. Herbert encourages individuals to achieve their potential. She is committed to actualizing equality, especially supporting people from marginalized groups and women to have and use their voice. Dr. Herbert, welcome.
Good evening, and thank you so much for inviting me, Marcia. I was really looking forward to this evening. Haven't been out for a while, so I'm quite excited about this. And also to share, well, this is the third time really that I will be actually sharing my poetry. So who knew that I was a poet? Last year in October, I was asked to read a poem, and I decided to write one. So this poem is really reflecting Black history. We're ending Black History Month, but these were my thoughts reflected here. Thank you very much, Kaya, for setting the bar. I'm really not a poet, but I'm going to do my little best. Okay, I'm even going to try and put some music in the background. It's supposed to be relaxed, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, good. That's fine then. So hopefully this is the correct one that I'm going to be playing. So this poem is entitled Black History Revisited. Can you hear the music? Yes?
No.
Something? Nothing?
No.
We can hear like a bass.
That'll do. Black History Revisited. Black does not have a place, a space, a location, a language, or a time. It's a color. His story relays accounts of an abortive past shackled and dumbed down. His story limits the movement of my wide eagle-like arms, preventing me from alighting aloft, then soaring. So I have changed the narrative and delved beneath the miseducation and a curriculum that made me feel and you believe that I was hopeless. Yes, that day I sat in the darkness of a classroom, the only Black child watching the black and white images depicting my ancestors, packed as sardines in a vessel, and then a system that enslaved them, headed to my beloved Barbados. Traumatic. Pause. Black, his story, is a catalyst to research and tell the story for my family, friends, and future generations. Not relist the inventions of Sarah Boone, who created the ironing board in 1892, or Garrett Morgan, who invented the traffic light system in 1923, Mary Seacole, Alado Equiano, or celebrities such as Sir Trevor MacDonald, Shirley Bassey, and the list goes on. So listen, if you will, to my story of Black. B, beauty on the inside and out. Just look at my ageless skin. They say Black don't crack. Inherited, beautiful, powerful, strong. Not ill-intentioned, inferior, or hateful. However, many have tried and failed to deconstruct what took years to create, whom God designed intentionally, made on purpose. L, languages of the many countries within the continent of my heritage. Love demonstrated in selfless giving so that we lift neighbors, strangers, and friends. Love that defied the captors of my ancestors and the belief that we would hold and enact fatal grudges. A, Africa, my origin, my history, my present, and my future. Open, resourceful, resourced, and wealthy. Attractively represented globally through my brothers and sisters. Aspirations that remove the boundary of fear. Evidence in my huge achievements and accolades today. Dr. Angela Herbert Mba, despite the shackles like chains of the numerous isms that I encounter. C, culture, customs, colors, creativity, charity, communities, cradled in creation that defines my character. Authentic drive of a people connoted by love, cultivated through pain that continues to grow, unparalleled determination. K, kingdoms and civilizations that existed way before the narrative of transatlantic slavery that consistently attempts to erase and eradicate innate leadership, strength, and brilliance of my past. Kings, queens, and the story of my beginnings, not slavery, but traditions, family, vibrancy, beliefs, innovation, tenacity, faith, and grace. Such reflections may be shared once a month, 1 month a year, to accommodate your comfortability by celebrating with ethnic food, culture, arts, and the achievements of many. But this is my life 365 days a year. I have removed the shackles, the mental shackles attributed to the color of my skin. Come close. Let's lift and appreciate each other. This is my story, our story, not his.
Beautiful.
So that was Black History Revisited. And another poem that I wrote was actually specifically for today and for today. So today, in that I wrote this for my dear friend Marcia, kisses to you, but also for us because of the times that we're in. And I called this one 2021. Inhale, hold, pause, think, reflect, exhale. What has or is happening to us since last year? Were or are there any benefits to the current situation? In my view, yes. The world held its breath, paused and stood still. For some, this was forced and dreadful, yet for others, a welcome break to consider silence. Occurrences gave way to challenge and changes that are indelibly etched in the annals of time. Time that we must embrace, turning negatives into positives, reflecting, loving, sharing, and appreciating ourselves and each other, opening our hands and our hearts to friends, strangers, and foes. Global challenge caused by the public death of George Floyd was a catalyst for change. We took and still take advantage by demonstrating, chanting, marching, shouting, and crying for transformation. We won and still win some victories in small pockets. Our TV screens, adverts, and billboards now reflect enlarged faces with smiling eyes, inviting our attention to a brand that we may never buy, yet as it reflects us, we are lured, intrigued, and captured. Could or can we make systematic change and awaken the consciousness of those whose crimes it is to maintain the status quo of so-called supremacy globally? Too large a task? Maybe. But let's deny the destruction caused by discrimination and mindless deviance of feigned superiority of our equals. As I close, let me encourage you to value life, health, nature, families, and significant relationships. Identify and acknowledge our individualities, uniqueness, differences, which are often multiple, as in the event that we're at today. So as per the lyrics of an old Sunday school song, so we must shine, you in your small corner and I in mine.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Marcia, for the inspiration, because when I read your book a while ago, I thought you incorporated poetry into the very strong messages that you wanted to give. And I did this in my autobiography, which will be released at some point, but it's really wonderful how I can use prose to actually put across a message. And I really thoroughly enjoy it. So I've got to say thank you to you, my inspiration. So this year I celebrated my 61st birthday, and I wanted to do something. I always mark it very, with something profound. And I published the small book that was shown earlier, and 100% of the profits from that will go to girls and women's charities, because I've spent all of my career working with men. And the purpose of that was really to, if we can, if I could work with men and I can change their approaches and views towards women, then in some way I'm helping and supporting women. But now I'm directly working and supporting women as a survivor of quite horrible experiences myself. But, you know, still I rise. Doesn't matter how many layers have gone on top of me. As a seed once buried in the ground, after some time you see green shoots. Well, what you see now is an oak tree, which cannot easily be moved. So the isms and the schisms and everything else that's been thrown and challenged cannot touch. So water off a duck's back. So the final poem that I wrote is actually one that is part of my biography, and it's called The Short Model. When I was 24 years old, I was a model. I was old as a model, and I was also short. But the messages that are within this poem is one that I've actually put to film. And the idea is that I will create workbooks so that young girls do not go through the whole process of learning. They can fast track to here, as opposed to going through all the stuff that we invariably go through as women in terms of how we look and trying to live up to some notional image of what we ought to be or what is expected of us. And so I hope you enjoy this film, and it is available on YouTube. So over to you, Marcia.
The short model. When thinking model, think tall, slender, confident, demure, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. However, it's not your natural look. Learn how to apply makeup, not to be a beautiful you, but an image of yourself. Exaggerate those eyes, cheekbones, lips, and jawline. Hair fashioned to complement the item, outfit, or garment. To sell, influence, or intrigue the onlooker that what you are showing off is exactly what they were looking for. The success of her craft was determined by her performance at a grading show. 24 young ladies, 5'8" or more, but she was only 5'6", 2 inches added with the aid of a fro. For the competition, 3 outfit changes: formal, informal, and swimwear. Makeup applied, concealer, foundation, contour, blush, eyeliner, mascara, lippy. Who's she? Good job. She is hired to make the item displayed look great. Music pumping, heart throbbing, nerves overtaking. It's her turn to go, go, go. The catwalk awaits her long strides, sultry gaze, looking down at the audience, them gazing up at her. She flicks her shoulders, hands on hips, spins on her heels, pout, strike a pose, shutters. Modeling for 6x6 Model Agency was not a career of choice, but an answer to a wager. Told she was not good enough, beautiful, or couldn't walk well. She proved her critics wrong because here she was, the model, but the lessons revealed to her were unplanned. Living as an image of herself, she was confident and conquered many challenges. Before, she would never leave the house without her makeup, concealer, foundation, contour. The image helped her to face challenges, take chances, and thrive. A slave to makeup was only destroyed at the point of her realization that beauty is fleeting and depends solely on the eye of the beholder. So she ventured out without makeup, testing her bare on crowded public transport and as she walked along the street. She heightened no more interest than any other day. The occasional good morning, the wry smile from a child, the rare outdated and frankly lame, pathetic chat-up line. Deliberately repeating the practice without the usual process, the shackles of the daily routine, the image, the facade, concealer, foundation, lippy, eyeliner, mascara, contour. Without it, she looked just fine. She came to the realization that she couldn't meet everyone's expectations. She learned that self-love and self-acceptance was essential. No need to wait for the approval of others. She realized that she was perfect. So fast track, lessons learned from that short model, who realized no need for a facade. Now, her features have matured, like fine wine with the passage of time. The creases by her eyes are etched by genuine deep smiles. Her crown of silver surrounds her face, a border of beauty, demure and grace. Her profound words of wisdom and life have left legacies, remembered and linger long after she leaves a room. The lessons? Be beautiful, be powerful, be authentic, be incredibly you. We are all role models, perfectly beautiful, both on the inside and out.
So the message there was really just to be yourself. You're unique. I want to say thank you to my daughter who's actually on here at the moment. She played the young me. Jodie, she probably doesn't look like she did on the film right now. She'd probably say, "Don't call me." Ian, who was the guy with the lame chat up line, is also on here. But I guess the opportunity for me to just share a message would be just to take advantage and embrace now, whoever you are, because you're unique. Whatever you offer is unique.
Well, children, where there is so much wreck.
Thank you for that interjection there, Marcia. And just to embrace the now, particularly in these times, embrace the now, embrace today, because you've got it, and just be encouraged.
Thank you. That was brilliant. Thank you. Before we go on to my other three guests, I think this is probably the ideal time to take a moment to have a break, a 10-minute break. But before we have that 10-minute break, can I just ask everyone to put their cameras on so I can just take a quick screenshot, and then we can have a 10-minute break, and then we've got some more brilliant guests. Thank you, Kaya, and thank you, Dr. Herbert. You were amazing. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you all are feeling relaxed. You're enjoying yourself still, because we're into the second part of our celebration of the history of intersectionality, the hidden Black faces. But before I introduce my next guest, I'll share a quick poem entitled Black Women Talking. We do it in our houses, we do it on the phone, we do it in the nail salon, the hairdressers, and even at the store. Talking in private, we share our frustration, anger, and pain in whispers or thundering voices, loud for everyone to hear. The look on our face, the glare in our eyes, the positioning of our head, prostrated on high. We know what's going on, the difficulty and despair, which challenges us regularly, but yet we continue to bear. Now it's our turn to speak out and be heard. We are not going to be silenced, hidden away, or ignored. We are a unique group of people, oppressed and marginalized. We have not been liberated or given a free pass. We've worked hard to be educated and employed, so we can lay the foundations for the next generation. We just keep on enduring the battles with pride, dignity, and honor. This is what we were taught as little girls. The script needs no rehearsal. It's been played enough times. So we grow up to be strong Black women. We have no choice but to carry on, because if we wilted or fallen, then that's the end of us all. So now I'd like to introduce my next guest. Reverend Anita Jackson is a former youth pastor within the New Testament Church of God. She is a teacher in an inner city London school where she works as a curriculum leader for business and enterprise. She studied at the University of Technology in Jamaica, where she gained a Bachelor of Education degree. Anita also holds a Master's in Education Leadership and Management. Anita has worked in several departments within the body of Christ, from youth president, youth director, family ministry, and youth pastor. Her mantra is, every child matters and each child needs to be the best they can be. Anita is the founder of the Mind and Soul Youth Foundation, where she works with Rayebuff Community Outreach Club, a charity assisting families in South East London. She aspires to be and to do her best at all times, but only her best is good enough as a child of God. Reverend Anita Jackson, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm smiling because I'm not a poet, but I'm gonna read a little section from my book that should be with us hopefully in early November. I'm going to read The Power of Faith, Living with Lupus. The Power of Faith, Living with Lupus is a title that I was given to me years ago. However, my dream of starting this book became a reality during COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. Procrastinated ended with this pandemic. Strange, but true, I got the title, yes, but I was walking around with the title only in my head, not on paper, nor on the computer. The book was still in transit. Then came December 2019, when I first heard about COVID-19. What is COVID-19? Where did this virus come from? This virus swept the planet like a bushfire without respect for anything or anyone, whether man, woman, boy, or girl. In March 2020, the government of UK put the entire country on lockdown and encouraged everyone except for essential workers to stay at home. The pandemic brought a lot of sadness to some people, including deaths, economic hardship, and frustration. Route 1, 20 to 21 seems very fitting for most people who I spoke to during this pandemic. Don't call me Naomi, meaning pleasant, she answered. Call me Mara, meaning bitter, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me. I too went through my own bitter season, where lupus hit me long and hard. However, I choose to be better, not bitter. Although Naomi endured all these things, it had a good ending. As she went through the process that came with pain, it was just simply hard to be on the threshing floor. So while this was happening, Yahweh was moving things into place. Yahweh used Ruth to enable Naomi latter days to be better than her former years. Hence, in the same manner, it was lupus. But I used my situation to become a better person. I still believe that Yahweh is not through with me. He is going to do great things in my life. This book was influenced by my faith in Yahweh. I have recognized my faith in God was not merely stirred, but it has grown and become strong. My desire is to share how I live with lupus with a wider audience. In addition, it is to demonstrate how we should rest in Yahweh when we face difficulties. There are suggestions and invitations that are extended in the midst of illness that you should be afraid to say no or to decline an offer and invite, because such are satanic. If such invite or offer will compromise your integrity, you have to find that inner strength to decline. Not all invitations are the best interests. I had to refuse to visit that Obia man who was highly recommended by the family friend who I was advised about to see if he could heal me of this illness. This I declined forcefully. I think in this case, I was like Esther when she said, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish. For me, at that time, it was settled. If I die in God. I refuse to see this man. I refuse to speak to anyone connected to the dark world. With boldness like Esther and faith that could come from God, it proved positive that Yahweh is still God. Sometimes we want to blame God like Naomi or like me. You might even question God. God, why me? Why not me? Even though at first I was reluctant to write this book, having not written even a poem, much less an entire book, the burning desire to share my experience lingered, and I held hostage by it. The only way to be rid of it was to step out of my comfort zone into the territory of the total unfamiliar. This book will also explore what is faith by the three different contributors. The views that I've shared about faith have been nothing less than insightful and inspiring. Faith is when you trust God enough to throw down your net one more time to catch your own fish. You might be saying you are faith, but still you are accepting someone else's catch. Be bold enough to face your own test. Be bold enough to catch your own fish. Luke 5:4-6. One night I saw a young lady on social media talking about lupus and the suffering she was experiencing. As I watched the clip, I cried, I wept, and I said to myself, look at this child suffering. I need to write my book and share my experience. I wept, I prayed for that young girl. In addition to the prayer, I found a way to reach out to her. I offered her support with just more than just prayer. I was overwhelmed when I saw her pain and desperate cry for help. It also dawned on me that I had not shared my story openly, and not doing so, I was not being a blessing to others. This reality was hard to live. This was also individuals I know who were being eaten by curiosity. They wanted to know what I was going through, how I was surviving. It was now time to share my experience of not only pain and suffering, but triumph through trials and God-ended grace. Having been afflicted with lupus, I've always told myself that I would survive any storm that came my way. I was resolutely determined to fight. So when COVID-19 hit the world and it left me with all time to reflect and internalize my thought, it propelled me to action. The book was always a gestation. It was no time for its birth. For years, I timidly shared my story in my preaching and in my teaching, but I've never boldly told the story of the unvarnished and uncovered. This book aims to give detailed description of what I went through before diagnosis. The reality of my existence was fighting and crippling, both emotionally and physically. I thought I could not be pregnant because of this dreadful disease. But even when I did not get pregnant, the challenges still reared their ugly head. One such challenge I faced during pregnancy was miscarriage. Do not allow what you go through to make you bitter or doubtful. The hand of Yahweh is still upon you, and He knows what to do when you do it. Always try to be your best in every capacity of your life. Losing my baby led me to God to question. I had all lost all hope, but this miraculously led me to a journey that resulted in the most profound miracle in my life. I've learned to rest in my faith in God, which was nothing short of an amazing adventure in Yahweh. I did not want to share this experience in any shape or form, in a book or otherwise. When God has greater plan for your life and you are willing to listen, this is when you will experience the miracle of God and the power in your life. Doctor will call your miracle by some other name, perhaps remission, or dismiss it with other scientific explanation. However, I am not fazed by what man think or say. When Yahweh has done something for me, His name must be glorified and praised. Yahweh has to do His will because He is God all by Himself. I will rest there and leave it there. When the book is out, I will update Dr. Marcia and you guys, or I will post it on my Facebook page. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Anita, for sharing that with everyone. and I will let everyone know once it's available where they'll be able to get it from. My next guest is Bianca Williams. She's a financial planner and life coach. As an ambitious Black woman with a background that spans investment banking, private banking, and financial advice, she's tired of seeing the financial services industry fall over itself to help those who already have a head start on building wealth. So she created the Finance PT, blending finance, mentoring with life coaching. Now she focuses on helping ordinary people lead the extraordinary lives that they deserve. And as I was speaking to Bianca, we were having a conversation about how we can fit finance into today's evening. What you know about being Hove? Bianca's here for you this evening to help you with finance. Over to you, Bianca.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So basically, what I do is basically to bring those dreams to life, to bring them closer to where you actually are right now, to figure out what's the next step to get more resilient, more financially well, and to be able to have that peace of mind that says, what you know about being whole.
Great, thank you for that.
Right, thank you.
So we're almost at our final guest, but before I introduce my final guest, I'd like to share with you the preview of a project that I'm working on at the moment called The Black Side of Prisons, a Monologue. This monologue is a mixture of storytelling in which I bring to life two books: Black Women Prison Employees, The Intersectionality of Gender and Race, and The Silenced Voice, There is Purpose in Pain. Don't say it. Please don't say it. Shh. Shh. Don't say another word. Just listen. I'm not a domestic visitor. Go back to where you come from. This is not your land. You're from that exotic place. You're okay for your kind. You're a sellout. Is that her head? No, it can't be. They've got her in locks, one on each arm and legs. She's an old woman, for goodness sake. There's no way the lock slipped. Me one, the only black person. I want to scream. I can't bear this. All eyes on me, a familiar feeling. One day there will be change. Equality for all will be the norm. There will be no more pain. My black sister tormented and afraid. The same old game, but she doesn't want to play. But she doesn't. She doesn't. She doesn't. Surrounded by whiteness, suffocating and choked. No hope, full of emptiness. She knows she has to cope. Racial equality, inclusivity for all. As long as you accept, you still do not belong. Outsider within, looking in, black women unite. Together, we can win. There is more I can do to contribute to this prison service than teach in the classroom. I had no business dissolving into melancholy over this misplaced belief that I belonged. Your Honour, I'm innocent. I've done nothing wrong. I completed my PhD to make black women visible in prison occupational literature. So I'd like to introduce my final guest, Mahalia Dua, who is 18 and currently studying acting at East Sussex College in Lewes. She has a passion for expressing herself through creative ways, whether it's acting, writing, or singing. In her opinion, it is crucial for everyone to take part in shaping their society, no matter their position in the system. Being able to express her views using creativity is a gift that she's delighted to be able to share with us all today. And she will be singing the theme tune to The Black Side of Prisons, a Monologue. Mahalia, over to you.
Hi guys, Edwin. Before I start, I just want to apologize for any noise that may come through my window, just because I'm in the center and it's Halloween, so everyone's gone a bit crazy as they do. Okay. This is written by the Marcia herself. She wrote it, and I did the melody. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And more than my hair and my chestnut skin. Unconscious bias is just an excuse to avoid looking within. So let me in, let me in. This Black woman's got a lot to give. Let me in, let me in. Let me work and do my thing. She's changing things. Worked hard, qualified, and she's going in to change things. Prison walls so tall and thick. Imposing scares her, but she still enters in. Teach all day long, them and they want to learn. And now it's her turn to reverse the curse. I'm more than my hair and my chestnut skin. Unconscious bias is just an excuse to avoid looking within. So let me in, let me in. This Black woman's got a lot to give. Let me in, let me in. Let me work and do my thing. This Black woman works in correctional. She's a professional. Long hours working, long hours grafting, sleepless nights studying and planning. Too ambitious focus, no time for material things. She don't mind though, fulfilling her purpose. She's doing her thing. She makes prison a better place with her intellect and grace. She makes the world a better place with her intellect and grace. More than my hair and my chestnut skin. Unconscious bias is just an excuse to avoid looking within. So let me in, let me in. This Black woman's got a lot to give. Let me in, let me in. Let me work and do my thing. It's a hard place and it can't be denied. It's a hard place to work when you're Black, even when you're qualified. It's a hard place and it can't be denied. It's a hard place to work when you're a woman and you're Black. Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys.
That was excellent, Mahalia. Thank you. Brilliant. That was, melody was just excellent. Thank you very much. So we're coming to an end. Thank you all for spending the evening with me. Just 1 minute over the time that I'd planned, but thank you all for spending this time. I hope you enjoyed the performances from everyone that took the time out to share their creativity in their different styles. I hope you enjoyed finding out a bit more about the history of intersectionality and the hidden faces, and I hope to see you again in the future. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, and thank you all for being here. You can follow me on any of my social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn.